Today we're talking about the God DH, baby. Yeah, possibly, arguably, potentially the strongest build in Season 22, the God Demon Hunter build for 2.6.10. These videos do take a lot of time, so if I could get a like on the video, I would very much appreciate it. We're gonna have timestamps in the description and chapters. Now, I notice a lot of people don't know what the chapters are. It's a new thing that YouTube added. You can scroll in the timeline and see everything. Even on mobile, you can slide your little finger. Yeah. Yes, you have a phone, right? And you can see the little chapters here and you can click on whatever you're looking for. And then of course we have a website with all of our builds on it, bloodshed.com. It's continuously updated and configured every single season. So here's some PTR footage with the speed version of the build. Now this is what you would use for T16, bounties, things like that. You can use the traditional speed build, but with the season, we have a 4th slot in the cube. We're actually able to finally use the bola weapons with Yang's recurve bow. If you don't know why we use Yang's recurve bow, since it's a multi-shot bow, Yang's recurve rolls with 50% reduced resource costs, and we're able to just spam our abilities like crazy. It's amazing for bounties in T16. I particularly enjoyed this bola version of the build, and I found it to be a little bit more efficient, whereas it's almost negligible. They're both extremely good. You know, God DH is probably the second fastest speed build in the game, behind Wave of Light Monk, you know, with Sun Wukong. So being the second fastest and getting bolas now, it's pretty much another second fastest build. They're both in the same tier, you know, second place. But I found this version a little bit more enjoyable, maybe because it was new, but the bolas group up the enemies and it just is really satisfying to play. And you can see by visually, it was really cool. And to use bolas finally for something was also a big plus, as we don't really use bolas. We use Hungering Arrow with almost everything else, but nothing really changes with the build. You're just able to use the bolas. If you want to use a traditional Hungering Arrow, well, you have a free slot to use like Echoing Fury or any other item you choose to do so. You have an open weapon slot there, and you know, everything's going to be updated on the website for you guys. But as you can see, you know, you can see the parameters down here, less than 10k main stat, yada, yada, yada. The build crushes and you'll have no issues with it. All right, Blood, what's new with God Demon Hunter this season? Well, this is the second season we've had God DH and there's been no changes actually. So what's new? Nothing really, which is a good thing since it was like the best build in season 21. It seems to roughly be competitive with the best build for season 22. It's a good thing, right? If you didn't get to play it last season, then enjoy it now. It's technically stronger because you have a 4th slot now. So now we get to rock the elusive ring and we get to be really tanky. And there's some other combos you can make, but I'm going to stick with the elusive ring as being the best. As you're tankier, you can not die less often and focus more. It's just the ease of use and the whole feel of the build is better. Having that, 60% damage reduction to the set. Make sure to check the build every so often, as I'm going to update it if there's any combos that arise. I was doing some testing with Bariza and I couldn't really find much benefit from it. So always check back for the latest and greatest. I'm going to keep everything updated for you guys so you won't be lost in the shuffle. You can always ask me at twitch.tv/bloodshed as well. Also, what's new, you kind of saw opening in the video, you can use the bolas, right? The bola setup for speed runs, which is great. In terms of build power, if you are low Paragon, like 800, less than 100 gem levels, no augments, and you want to push with God DH, since it is one of the strongest builds in the game, I would imagine a new player could probably get down a 110. Somebody that has a lot of experience with God DH and knows how to look for the right map can probably easily do a 115 with like no augs, nothing, right? Low stats. But you're looking at a baseline 110 and then it just sky's the limit, really. You have so much potential. It really takes advantage of good maps. The more open the map, the more density, the more the hungering arrows passing through enemies. It's just really amazing, right? So definitely When I say sky's the limit, I mean it's a 150 capable build. I feel like you will see some 150 God DH clears this season. And then you have the Shadow Clones, which don't really do much at a high level, but it's just extra damage that we didn't have before. And it might be that small difference, right, to help get those clears in. In terms of like group speeds, you can run group speeds with God DH. It's actually pretty fast. And yeah, I think you'll like it. It's fun, fast, and furious and all that. And you don't die, you're mobile. You can run with almost any comp because you are mobile, and you can take care of yourself. You're tanky, right? So mobile, tanky, do lots of damage, and you just kind of fit in with any kind of pug speed comp. All right, let's talk about the rotation of the build so you guys are comfortable and you know how to play the build at a high level, okay? So as soon as you enter the rift, you're gonna just start attacking the air. You hold down 4 stand still so you don't walk forward. And you can see you're getting this momentum stack, right? You wanna be at roughly 20 momentum stacks as it increases your movement speed and damage. The way you keep up your momentum stacks is when you hold down strafe, they start to fall off. So every so often, just tap it. If you're targeting a mob, you'll stop strafing and it'll shoot. But if you tap 4 stand still, you can set it as a button on your keyboard or however you wanna use it. It will shoot no matter where you are. So it's really fluid that way to force stand still and shoot any direction you want. It doesn't really matter. You just kind of going like this and shoot. Now this is your basic kind of rotation, right? You just kind of want to get into the rhythm, and pretty soon you won't even be thinking about it. A lot of people freak out because they have to cast their generator manually all the time to keep up the stacks right here. But you just get used to it. It becomes like common and you stop thinking about it after a while. I'm tapping for stand still, you know, and I'm tapping the generator at the same time. Obviously you want to keep up your buffs, Fan of Knives, you want to keep up Shadow Power, that goes without saying. That's going to proc that elusive ring that we talked about to give you that damage reduction. You want to keep up Vengeance full time. Now this is a big question I get all last season. How much cooldown do I need to keep up Perma Vengeance? Now with the push build, you're probably going to be wearing the Dawn, right? So Dawn has a level range from 50 to 65. So the cooldown can greatly range on what you need, right? You might need 37 or you might need beyond 50%. It just kind of depends on what your Dawn rolls. So the best way to find out, honestly, is to just click Vengeance and then see if your cooldown ends before your cooldown's up, right? And then that way you know if it's able to, if you need more cooldown or less cooldown, right? There are some calculations that you can find and figure it out. But again, this is just an easy visual way for you to quickly be like, and it looks just about perfect, right? You can see the cooldown was up before the Vengeance ended, and it worked out great. So we established the strafe combo with keeping up our little momentum buff here, right? This is the strafe combo. We established keeping up all your buffs in the process as you're going through. You know, you want to keep up this little ring right here, that's for your survivability. You want to keep up the Dawn for your survivability. That's a 50% damage reduction. Keep tapping everything. You tapping your generator also is great. It keeps up your Wraps of Clarity on your bracers. So a lot of this stuff that you're keeping up is tied to your damage reduction, right? That's going to keep you alive throughout the whole process. Fan of Knives is great. Also, if you don't know, it procs Numbing Traps, which reduces the damage enemies do to you by 25%. And plus Bladed Armor has an armor mechanic to it, 40% additional armor, right? And then I have a Leech here. You don't have to use Leech, it's a little overkill, but I love it. You can make sure you get life on hit on one of your weapons and that'll make up for it. But I like to go raw stats on the weapons, that way I can run Leech in the passives. But feel free to use Archery or anything else, or if you're playing Softcore, you can drop Awareness and also go Archery or a different passive if you like. You might wonder why we're using Rocket Storm. It has a more reliable proc chance for your 4-piece, right? For everything to work properly. When you cease to crush the rift, that means you gotta start pushing. And pushing means you are looking for open maps like a forest map or a battlefield, or even sometimes a double chamber spire map, right? And you're gonna pull the big, lots of elites, lots of enemies together and hopefully get them all nice and tight and start DPSing them, right? And like I said, the more enemies Hungering Arrow passes through and comes back, it's just doing more damage the more density you have, you know? Obviously, if you can get a conduit pylon or a power pylon, you're just gonna destroy everything, you know. The only build, this build does struggle on Rift Guardians a little bit, but that's just part of the paying the price, you know, because it is so damn strong that you need to have some kind of drawback. It's popularly known as the God DH, for crying out loud, right? It's really powerful, like godlike powers. You know, sometimes you're in a map, right, and you pull all the mobs together, and sometimes, only sometimes, you get like those slow time bubble mobs like this. This is my dome. And then your God DH is shooting arrows and it's moving really slow through it. Really, really slow. When you get a slow time bubble mob, that is like a damn conduit pylon. So that's one reason why that gives DH such incredible potential, is this mechanic. So remember how we talked about the arrow passes through the target and does like 70% damage per pass through? So now if your arrow is moving at a super slow rate through the slow time, like you have like a bunch of arrows, it's ramping up the damage, just like brrr, like a rapid fire effect. It's passing through the mobs. And man, you get a forest, you bring the whole zone. If you see a slow time mob, you hit the jackpot, right? So you have Condis to look for, you have Power Pylon to look for, which you have Flavor of Time also in the build. So you get a minute pylon. And if you get these slow time bubbles, man, you can really take into effect or really maximize the effect of God DH. So if you see a slow time bubble like this, don't start DPSing right away unless you have like maybe 3 elites or something around, or try to make it juicy, try to pull everything around and try not to do too much damage. It's hard because as you're spinning, you are doing DPS, but just zip away and just keep pulling and pulling and dragging and really take advantage of it because you hit the jackpot. For breakpoints, area damage, attack speed breakpoints, all that stuff will be in the build, the written guide of the build. So just check that. You guys will be fine for there. I'm always tweaking things and kind of min-maxing everything. And so just always check the written guide for that. But this is basically it. This is basically how you play God DH. All right, let's go into the build screenshot version of the video. That way you can just skip to this in case the websites are down. So this is the build right here. I can screenshot that. You got me in the picture. Scroll down, here's the items. You can see we got the Flavor of Time, Focus and Restraint, Valhalla, our Valhalla's Bequest, and Valhalla's Bequest and Dawn. You got your gems here. Here's the cube. Right now in the 4th slot, we're using the elusive ring. Diablo Fans doesn't have a 4th slot, so I can't showcase it visually, but just read the description on everything. You can see we have the breakpoints right here. For GR speeds, drop, stricken, and trapped. I have just like things down here that you might need. I'm gonna add area damage to this, but anything over 90% is just gravy, right? So you definitely want to get that. And and you can see all the breakpoints are already on the build. Hungering arrow damage everywhere, cold damage on the bracers and the amulet. It's all there, right? So just check the written guide. You got it, you know, and then if it's down, at least you have this to get you going until the website gets back up after a few days. Here's the Yang Hungering Arrow T16. So if you want the traditional Yang build, it's right here with the 4th slot on the PTR. You can see I went with the Echoing Fury, but literally it's sky's the limit. Use whatever you want. So I'll let it stay here for a second so you can take the picture. Here's the Bola T16 build. So you can see instead of Echoing Fury, we're able to slot in that extra weapon slot to make Bolas even work in the first place. Again, Yang Recurve is amazing. You want to hold it because you have that reduced resource cost roll on the weapon. We're not actually using multi-shot. We're using it for that 50% reduced resource cost, which makes it amazing for bounties as well because, you know, you just can spam abilities and you're just going, right? Speed, need for speed. And then here's a little GR speed build for Bola. It's kind of the same thing. It just, you lose the gold items for more, you know, items geared toward GRs. So let it sit there for you guys. All right. In conclusion, if you haven't played God DH, man, you're in for a good surprise. This build just destroys everything. A lot of people were kind of upset. They wanted nerfs for God DH. But I'm in the thinking that, man, DH has never had really the best build in the game. So they deserve it, man. They deserve a few seasons of this. And I don't know if it ever needs to get nerfed, to be honest, because, you know, it's so late in Diablo's life cycle. Why not let the people eat cake? That's actually a really bad example, but yeah, I mean, let them eat cake. Why not? And you can do anything, right? We talked about bounties, speeds, groups, pugs. You have a 150 potential. You have very high potential for early game. If you're trying to do your conquest to speed through the game, right? It's one of the fastest speed builds. So if you're trying to do all these stupid ass conquests that they give us, this would be great for that as well. If you want to start DH, you get your bracers at level 1, right? Just save your challenge with cash, roll bracers at level 1. Now you have 50% damage reduction at level 16 when you're able to equip the bracers. And now if you're trying to do like this weird T6 shadow clone leveling, which we have a guide on the channel, you have survivability, right? Not every class can get their survivability at level 1. So that might help you survive longer. So bear that in mind. It's not the best start, but it's a really strong start because the shadow clone's so damn good early game. Hey, if you want to support the channel, man, you can throw me a sub on Twitch. You can paid sub here on YouTube, on Patreon. Just liking the video helps me so much. You don't know. It helps the YouTube algorithm. Commenting helps the YouTube algorithm. And come say hi, man. I'll be streaming all weekend long for launch night. I got more videos planned. I'm going to get to work. This is Bloodshed, and I'm out of here. Peace.